Let's go! Now, I didn't know if I was gonna run out, walk out like Dustin. Jake kind of inspired me. I was a little bit scared to run out because you might be out of breath if you run out like Jake. Hey, I wanna welcome you all students. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Travis Brown. I get to serve on our CCV team. I've been on staff for 16 years. Currently, I get to serve at our Peoria campus. I give it up for our Peoria campus. Some of you might not know this, but before I got into ministry, I actually played in the National Football League for 6 years as a quarterback, okay? I grew up, let me give you a little bit of background on myself. I grew up in Phoenix. After college, I went on to play in the NFL for 6 years, but I went from Phoenix to college. I came up here and played at NAU. Now, some of you don't know this, but the stadium that we're in right now is actually the same place that the NAU football team plays all of their home games. Did you know that? Right over here on this far end of the field, you'll see all these rolled up things. That's actually the turf. They lay out the turf. This is what it looks like during football season. They'll put a picture up here, but they roll out turf. This place becomes the home football field. This was home for me for 4.5 years. NAU has a special place in my heart, not just because of what happened on the football field. I actually met my wife up here at NAU. Yep. In 3 weeks, my wife and I, that's my wife, Corey. 3 weeks, my wife and I will actually celebrate our 25-year wedding anniversary. Give it up. Corey's actually sitting in the front row right here with her group. She's a group coach at our Peoria campus. Told him to zoom in on her, she'd be embarrassed. But let me tell you something. This field, this space that we're in right now, it means a lot. I've had some highest highs of my life on this field. I've also experienced some lows right where we're sitting. I've thrown touchdowns in this field. I've thrown a lot of interceptions on this field. I've actually walked off this field after big victories when the stadium was full and everybody's cheering. I've actually walked off this field also after crushing defeats. I've worked really hard on this field. I've run these stadiums more times than I can count. I've spent early mornings in here training. I actually had a lot of injuries on this field. I can tell you exactly where all of them happened too. I dislocated my elbow right behind the stage, right over here. I hurt my knee right down here, about 20 yards down the field. I've got a concussion right where you're sitting, and another concussion right over there. It's great though. It's great, but this field, it means something to me. So needless to say, as I preach to you in this space, man, it's special to me. And I couldn't help but think last night as we were experiencing service and watching so many of you make decisions for Jesus and walk through those veils, I kept thinking to myself, man, this isn't a football stadium, this is a church. You guys have turned this place into a church. But people always ask me this question, hey, what do you miss the most about playing? Is it the touchdowns? Is it all the experiences and the stadiums you played in and the people you played against? And I always answer the same way. It's the people. It's not what took place on this field that's so special, but it's who I experienced all those things with. And when I think about the people who I experienced all those things with, there's actually two vital people, groups of people that I'm so grateful for. One of those groups of people are the people who came before me. The legacy, all the people who worked so hard and put in so much work for me to have the chance to be here. Many of you might not know this, but there was a time when NAU had more professional quarterbacks than any other college in the country, actually playing at one time. By the time I started at NAU, and I'm not gonna give you the year, 1996, when I took over as starting quarterback here, The 3 quarterbacks that played before me all left NAU and went on to play in the NFL. And so when I stepped into this place, man, I felt it was such a great responsibility. I stepped into this role and I was so excited. And it wasn't due to pressure. It was more about empowerment because of the people who came before me. But the other group of people who I always think about and I'm so grateful for are the people who I was in it with. My teammates, my coaches, the trainers. We went through so many things together on this field. They pushed me. They believed in me. They picked me up when I was injured. They helped me get healthy again. They saw the best of me. And they probably saw the worst of me. In fact, as I think about all the teammates that I played with, man, I could spend hours talking about all the different people and who they were and what kind of personality they had and the experiences we had. This is just a picture of one of our games. I could talk to you for 4 hours about just the offensive linemen who blocked for me. I could talk to you about Ryan Lingenfelder or Josh Houseman or James Martin or Ryan Winkler or Dan Finn or Carl Blakely or Robert Haas or Jake Peterson or Nick Yurton. All these guys were my offensive linemen over 4 years, and they protected me. They blocked for me. They picked me up. I fought with these guys. I fought against these guys sometimes because you don't always get along, do you? But I also competed alongside of these guys, and they mean so much for me. There's so many great memories in this place for me, especially with the teammates that I got to experience all those things with. But there's also not so great memories. I remember how devastating it was when one of those teammates, a guy who I've been teammates with for years, he actually lived with me for a season, when he tragically passed away. I know some of you can relate to that. Having people in your life who you're so close with, they're taken from you. His name was Dave Couture. But through the good moments and through the bad moments, I know this. There is something special about having teammates who have been in it with you. Something special about having teammates and people who have been in the fire with you. Some of you coaches know what I'm talking about just this week at camp. We're 2 days into camp, and you guys have been through the fire already. I talked to some of you coaches this morning already. And for the last 12 hours, you've experienced some highs and you've experienced some lows, and some of you haven't gotten any sleep. Some of you coaches have watched some of your students make decisions for Jesus, and some of you coaches have been at the hospital. Just in the last 12 hours. There's something powerful when you're in it with people, right? There's some bonds that get created. In fact, that's how I feel now. I get to work at the most amazing church, okay? With amazing people. Always ask me, hey, what's the best part about working at CCV? I love our mission, okay? I love serving Jesus. But the people that I get to serve with are incredible. Absolutely incredible. I get to serve with people like Leo Galarza and Sam Fillingame and Leah and all these people on the Peoria team. You've got to hear from some of the people I get to work with every single day. You know, yesterday, if you were here yesterday morning, Mark Moore created an AI image. You remember this of Jake? Okay. He inspired me. I said, you know what? I'm gonna create my own AI image. So what I told it to do, I said, I want you to make one person out of Dustin, Mark Moore, and Jake. And I want you to make them look like I see them. This is the image that it came up with. Woo! And that gets you excited. That's how I see those guys. That's how I see the people I work with. They're warriors. Man, they're strong. They are incredible people to work with. You're welcome, you three. There's something powerful about being with powerful people and a part of something that's bigger than you. And this morning, I want you to think about two groups. We're gonna talk about two groups of people who you have who will determine the direction of your life. And I'm gonna ask you a couple questions. In your mind, I just want you to start thinking about who these people are. The first question is this: who are you following? Who are you following? Who are you modeling your life after? Who's gone before you? Who's like, hey, they're where I want to be, or they have attributes or personality, or they're doing things that, man, I want to model my life after. Maybe they're a little bit ahead of you. Because here's the truth: we all follow. We all follow. Some of you are sitting there like, I don't follow anybody. I'm a leader. No, you're not. You're not as independent as you think. You follow trends, we follow influencers, we follow friends and habits. And being a follower today means something different, doesn't it? Being a follower today is just simply watching somebody else's highlights online. And you're not really following their character, you're just really consuming their content. Who are you following? Let me tell you something. The Bible is full of people who are following other people. One of the main authors of the New Testament is a guy by the name of Paul, and I'm just gonna read you a verse. He wrote these words down as he was writing to the church in Corinth. In 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 1, he simply says, "Follow me as I follow Christ." Follow me as I follow Christ. Here's what's great about what Paul is saying right there. He was confident in being a leader of people because he knew he wasn't leading people to himself, he was leading people to Jesus. And the truth is that the best leaders, listen to me, the best leaders are the best followers. Who are you following? Second group of people I want you to think about is this: who are you running with? Who are you running with? Who are the people in your life who you're just doing life with? Your friends, okay, it might be your family. You got people who you're experiencing life with. In Proverbs chapter 13, verse 20, it gives this truth that we all already know. It says this: walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm. Some of you know who you're running with. It's sending you in the wrong direction, isn't it? Some of you experienced that last night. You came out of an amazing worship service. You're all fired up. You had a great group time. Man, and then they asked you to go in that room. They asked you to look at something that you know is not right. The people who you run with matters. But the two deeper questions I wanna ask you today when you're thinking about who you're following and who you're running with is this: are you following people who are following Jesus? Are you following people who are following Jesus, and are the people you are running with running in the same direction as you? You ever listened or followed the wrong people that led you somewhere that almost destroyed you? It was my senior year of college. I was up here, I was just getting ready to start our season. We were actually the day before our home opener here at NAU. I'd been the starting quarterback for the last 3 years, and on that Friday, somebody asked me, they said, hey, there's a pep rally going on. Why don't you come down? And for those of you that are athletes, you probably know this, but athletes are scheduled, okay? This is what I do at 2 o'clock, this is what I do at 3 o'clock, especially when you're playing games, right? And so Friday, no, I'm scheduled. I'm not doing that. And I was like, gosh, I don't want to go to this pep rally. It was actually located down in the quad. You know where we're doing all of our games right now and the basketball courts down there? That's where the pep rally was being held. And so I went. I ended up following somebody that I probably shouldn't have listened to. It was against my better judgment. So I go to this pep rally, and the quad is packed. Students are just here for fall semester, just getting ready to start. Everybody's excited about the home opener the next day. And I show up to the quad, and on the basketball court is this huge stack of firewood. It's like, oh, they're gonna have a bonfire. That's cool. Get to watch that. And I'm standing in the crowd, and all of a sudden the guy that's hyping everybody up, he says, hey, Travis, why don't you come light the bonfire for us? What? No harm done. Seems easy enough, so I walk over and they hand me this lighter. It wasn't really a lighter, it was like a pole with like some cloth on the end of it so they could light that and then you go light the fire. Little did they tell me that they didn't just light the cloth that was on the end of this, but they had dipped the entire pole into like gasoline. I didn't know that. So they light the fire and it goes all up my whole body. And I throw it and my arms, hairs are all singed. Luckily, I was okay. I know you guys are concerned. I was okay, but I remember walking out of there going, I can't believe I listened to that guy. I can't believe I stepped into that. You ever been there? What happens when you follow the wrong people? You get burned. When you follow the wrong people, it leads you to places you don't want to go. Sometimes we follow the wrong people and wonder why our lives are going in the wrong direction. But I've learned the opposite is true too. When you surround yourself with the right people, people of character and conviction and faith who are heading in the same direction as you, and that's towards Jesus, you start to walk differently. In my fourth year in the NFL, I was playing with the Buffalo Bills, and it was the off season, and a couple teammates and I decided to go out for dinner. Okay, so we go into downtown Buffalo, we have a great dinner, and we walk out of the restaurant, we're trying to find our car, and we end up getting into a part of town that we just probably shouldn't have been in this space. We're looking for our car. And I start to look around and understand the environment. That you ever been to a place where you look around and you see the environment and you're like, oh, we shouldn't be here. Shouldn't be in this. So I'm getting a little nervous because I'm like, man, we shouldn't be in this spot. It's a little late at night. And then I stopped looking at the environment and I looked at the two guys who were walking with me next to me. They were both offensive linemen. They were 6'4", 6'5". Each of them weighed 340 to 360 pounds. They're walking with me. On this side of me was a linebacker. He's about 6'2", and he weighed about 260 pounds, full of muscle. On the other side of him was the smallest guy in the group, if you're not counting me. He was one of our running backs. He was 6 foot, and he weighed about 230 pounds, all muscled up. So I'm the runt of the group. And all of a sudden, I stopped looking at the environment, and I started to look at the company that was around me, and I got confident. Like, who would possibly do something to us? But we all hurried up and got to our car because we were all scared. Anyways, but the people you follow and the people you run with will determine the life that you lead. That's the power of following and running with the right people. And we just read out of Hebrews 11. Rachel read that earlier. This week we've been in the book of Hebrews, and in all of Hebrews 11 is an amazing chapter. It's basically a chapter they call the Hall of Fame of Faith, where they list person after person after person after person after person. And all of these people, they weren't famous, they weren't rich, they weren't flawless, but they had one thing in common. Is they had moments where they lived by faith. And we're not gonna dive into every single person found in Hebrews chapter 11. But I bet as you dive into Hebrews 11 yourself, I encourage you to read it today. I bet you would relate to some of their stories. There's a person like Noah who was highlighted in Hebrews 11. And he's highlighted because he was following God's commands even when it didn't make sense to everybody else around him. You been there? Some of you are gonna be there at the end of this week when you go home. Things are gonna make sense. God's called you to do something, but people around you, doesn't make sense to them. Also in Hebrews 11, a lady named Rahab is highlighted. And she's highlighted because she didn't let the shame of her past stop her from being bold to do something for God. Some of you are gonna have to do the same thing. Last night you made decisions, and the devil wants to keep bringing up your past. And you're gonna go home, and you're gonna be like, remember who you were? And God's like, I have great things ahead for you. You're gonna relate to Rahab. Or you might relate to Abraham in that chapter. Abraham was highlighted because he actually took a step of faith where God told him to take a step without knowing the destination. He didn't know where God was sending him. He just started to go. God said, go, I'm gonna go. Students, you won't know the destination of everywhere you're going, where God's leading you. You'll relate to Abraham. Or you might relate to Moses, who actually, he chose God's calling in his life over the comfort that was available to him. If you read through Hebrews 11, you'll know that these weren't perfect people. But God doesn't require perfection. He desires faithfulness. He desires your heart. And these people, in spite of their shortcomings, in spite of their mistakes, they put their trust in God. And as you read Hebrews 11, here's what I don't want you to say to yourself. I don't want you to say, I could never do that. I could never make an impact like that for God. But rather, I want you to read Hebrews 11 and say, man, if they could follow God with all of their flaws, so can I. Listen, you're a part of a group whose faithfulness was not only part of their story and what we read in the Bible, but it's part of your story. And their story is not complete without your story. Listen to what it says in Hebrews chapter 11, verse 39. These were all commended for their faith, talking about all these people who went through this list in Hebrews 11. Yet none of them received what had been promised, since God had planned something better for us, so that only together with us would they be made perfect. They laid a foundation for us. They need us. Even these greats in Hebrews 11 need us. And it goes on, first verse of Hebrews chapter 12. It says, therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us. Listen, this is not written just to inspire you. This was written to empower you. Because it's empowering to be surrounded by a crowd. I've played in front of a lot of different crowds in my days. I've played in stadiums where 75,000 people did nothing but boo you. They didn't want to see you succeed. I've also played in stadiums that were full of people who were cheering you. A friend of mine was telling me a story. He's a big Cincinnati Reds fan. A couple summers ago, he took his son to a Cincinnati Reds baseball game where they were playing the Chicago Cubs in Chicago at Wrigley Field. And he said it was a beautiful day. They had seats right behind the Reds dugout. And since they were big Reds fans, they were excited because the Reds actually were beating up on the Cubs pretty good this game. And it was pretty much out of control. And he says it came to the ninth inning. Top of the ninth, the Cincinnati Reds are up to bat, and the Cubs decided to put a new pitcher in just for the ninth inning, even with the game out of reach. And this was this pitcher's very first major league action. He just got called up from the minors, and he was now pitching in the majors. And he faces the first batter, and the first batter gets a hit. And then the second batter gets a hit. And then the third batter gets walked. And this guy's struggling. Fourth batter hits a double. Can't get anybody out. Every pitch he throws, can't get anybody out. And my friend tells me, he says, where he's sitting, about 4 rows behind him, he hears a voice this whole time that's piercing. This voice that's sitting behind him is yelling at the pitcher. He's saying, "You got this, son. You got this. Keep throwing hard. You get the next one." See, this pitcher's dad was sitting right behind him, watching his son struggle. Batter after batter came up, and they kept getting a hit, and he couldn't get anybody out. And my friend said he was sitting there. He's like, "Man, I became a Cubs fan. I actually became a Cubs fan in that moment. I just wanted to see this kid get somebody out." But with every pitch, his dad was even more relentless. "You got this, son. Keep throwing hard. They can't hit you." This world is throwing a lot of booze at you. And Satan loves that. And the boos are coming from all different directions. And we need more people who we follow and who we run with, who are for us, who see our potential, who see the best in us. Students, listen. I hope you know that you're surrounded by a great cloud of witnesses. You got pastors, you got coaches, you got people who are like, "You got this. You can do this. You got this, son. I know you just gave up a hit. I know you struggled last night. You got this." Coaches, I hope you know that you're surrounded by a great cloud of witnesses. Sometimes coaches need encouragement, don't we? These coaches have given up a week of their lives, and trust me, they're going through it. A lot of these coaches are going through it in life, and I hope you coaches know you're surrounded by a great cloud of witnesses saying, "You got this. Keep going. Keep throwing hard." I pray that you would do that for each other. Can we be more about building each other up than tearing each other down? Please. You've seen somebody this week who didn't sit with your group. You've seen somebody who's isolated. You know what they need? "You got this. Come join us. Let's go." You need to be brought in. You're surrounded, students. You're surrounded by a great cloud of witnesses. And let me ask you these 2 questions again. Are you following people who are following Jesus? And are the people you are running with running in the same direction as you? You know, I told you earlier about the quarterback lineage that I had here at NAU and how I took pride in that. And how I wanted to build on it. But let me tell you about another lineage that means more than anything else. There was this gentleman named Ken Hutcherson. He used to play for the Dallas Cowboys, but he ended up getting signed with the Seattle Seahawks. And he was sold out for Jesus. And he came to Seattle on a mission to win people for Jesus. And when he got there, he had a teammate named Sherman Smith. And Ken Hutcherson led Sherman Smith to Jesus. And all of a sudden, Sherman Smith started living radically for Jesus and being bold and sharing his faith. And he ended up getting a teammate by the guy by the name of Gil Bird, who wasn't a believer. Gil Bird started watching Sherman live his life. He said, I want that. And Sherman Smith led Gil Bird to Jesus. Gil Bird started living radically. He ended up signing with the New York Jets. There was this young guy who came in and signed with the Jets. He was a rookie guy by the name of Eric Bowles. Eric Bowles wasn't a believer, but he watched Gil. He says, Gil, I want that. Gil Bird led Eric Bowles to Jesus. Eric Bowles ended up going home, and he had a friend who he was college teammates with who saw him living differently. And his friend was a guy by the name of John Kitna, and Eric Bowles led John Kitna to Jesus. John Kitna was a quarterback with the Seattle Seahawks when a rookie came in named Travis Brown, who didn't know Jesus. And I watched John live. And I watched my teammates live it out. And John led me to Jesus. Here's what I want you to know. I'm not the end of this chain. I'm just one. And I'm committed that it wouldn't end with me. That's my spiritual legacy. That's my spiritual lineage. I'll ask you students as we wrap up, what are you gonna do with this? What are you gonna do with this faith that's you've been exposed to? You gonna let it end with you? You gonna keep it to yourself? I hope you know you're not alone. I hope you know that the people you follow, the people you model your life after, and the people you run with, the people you're linked to, will determine where you end up. Are you following people who are following Jesus? Be honest. And are you running with people who are running in the same direction as you? That's what you're going to talk about today. Father, we're so grateful that we get to come into this space, worship you, learn about you, and we're grateful that we're not alone in this journey. Lord, thank you for surrounding us, for giving us examples to live by, people who have been courageous with their faith. Thank you for student pastors and coaches who have spent so much to pour into these students. I pray if they need somebody to look around, to follow it, I know they're probably sitting in the same row as them. Lord, surround us. Help us be stronger together. We love you. In Jesus' name we pray.